What's going on, Marines? Captain Joseph TPSRO here. We're going to go over our Prohibited Activities annual training. Once again, a reminder, this is not the only thing you need to do for the annual training requirement. Make sure you're reading through the orders and getting with your unit to ensure that your annual training requirement has been hit. So, first thing we're going to talk about is the purpose of the order. So this order updates and aligns Marine Corps policy on prohibited activity and conduct involving harassment to include sexual harassment, unlawful discrimination and abuse, specifically hazing, bullying, ostracism, and retaliation, wrongful distribution or broadcasting of intimate images, and certain dissident and protest activity to include supremacist activity. These behaviors will be referred to collectively as prohibited activities and conduct throughout this order. All right, so now you kind of know what prohibited activities are, sort of this overarching, hey, these are a lot of things we see as problems in the Marine Corps, and they are problems. If you are sitting there watching this and you're like, oh my gosh, here I go having to listen to this again, I'm with you. I hate talking about this stuff every 6 months to a year, but the reason why we have to talk about it is because it's still happening, and if you don't think so, then you're wrong. So we're going to talk through some of the things that are going to help alleviate this problem and then just give you some maybe updated knowledge or information that'll help reduce the problem here in the future in our Marine Corps. So first we're going to talk about is the responsibilities. Straight from the order, addressing the problem starts with ensuring that the Marine Corps does not tolerate, to include sexual harassment, unlawful discrimination or abuse, specifically hazing, bullying, ostracism, retaliation, wrongful distribution or broadcasting of intimate images, and certain dissident and protest activity to include supremacist activity. All right, so we just talked about that. It's in the purpose, that's why we're doing it, but these are our responsibilities. So those things that we just listed, the prohibited activities, it's our responsibility to not only enforce the rules and regulations on our Marines, but making sure that we break that culture of those things being allowed to happen, right? Sexual harassment, the Marines United page that became an issue 3 or 4 years ago, and in reality it was an issue before that, it was caught 3 or 4 years ago. Those things cannot happen in the Marine Corps. They break your command climate, they break your unit cohesion, and they're things that you are not going to bounce back from anytime soon, if ever. There's a lot of things that are responsible on the individual though. So if you see something happening, stop it. All right, make sure that you're clear. If you're in a leadership position, make sure that you're clear that that's not going to happen in your unit. If you're in a unit, if you're a member of the unit, if you see something happening, don't be afraid to step up and say something. We're all grown men and women. We all have a responsibility to take care of one another. And if we see something like that happening, that's on us to take care of. So that's where our responsibilities lie. If you're a higher level commander, we're talking companies, battalions, higher, make sure that that's something that you put forth to your Marines that you will not tolerate. It should go without saying, but enforcing that command climate from the get-go is going to be very important. The second that you let something like that happen or slip into your command climate, then you've now basically said it's acceptable to do things like this, and you are going to have to deal with that later on in the future. Whereas if you start from the get-go saying, hey, this is something that's not going to be tolerated in our unit, it's something that's not going to be allowed in this family, then it'll go a long way in the future with regard to your command climate. With regard to reporting, all civilian and military personnel have a duty to report any actual, suspected, or alleged incident of prohibited activities and conduct as defined by this order, to the extent required by law. Reports may be made to any person in the chain of command, to any inspector general, any EOA or MEO officer, and to any law enforcement officer. Any person in the chain of command who receives a report of prohibited activities and conduct shall immediately forward that report to the commanding officer, or if the commanding officer is suspected or alleged to have engaged in the conduct at issue, to any superior officer in the chain of command or the IG. Certainly, like you're always told, you don't want to be the senior man with the secret. Don't keep things to yourself. Okay, you might be thinking that you're helping protect somebody or you're looking out for someone, but it's going to be a lot worse, not only on you, but on the environment, on your unit, on that buddy of yours, that Marine of yours that you're trying to protect or you think that you're keeping, behind doors here. Don't let any of that happen, and make sure you get that information out as soon as possible. If nothing happened, then at least you did the steps that you took that you thought were necessary in order to alleviate the problem. And there might be some immediate repercussions. You might lose friendship over it, but I personally would rather that, or rather the chance of that happening, than to allow something like this happening. All right, so don't try to keep things under wrap. Make sure you tell the proper people. And if you think that somebody senior, your company commander, your battalion commander, whatever it may be, is suspected of these acts, don't be afraid to speak up and say those things because you're fearing for a promotion and fearing for a fitness report, whatever it might be. If you're ever working for a promotion or a fitness report, then you're probably not working correctly anyway, but that's not something that you should be afraid of. And there's no legal ramifications for you coming forward and saying, hey, this is something that I thought, this is something that I've seen or heard, and I just wanted someone to check it out so that if it is an issue, it's no longer an issue. And if it was an issue, then at least you took the steps necessary that you thought to take care of your unit, to take care of your Marines. All right, last thing is going to be command climate. So to establish an organizational climate in which all personnel within this warfighting organization are treated with dignity and respect, to maintain a workplace that ensures professionalism, competence, and respect for all our warfighters, to ensure a workspace is free of contraband and degraded and offensive materials that contradict good order and discipline. So we talked about a little bit earlier that good command climate is fostered right out the bat, right? From the presence of your unit leader, of that commander, through the orders that they put forth, through their policy letters, their command guidance, whatever it may be, that command climate is going to drive whether these things happen a lot, a little, or not at all, right? If you put that foot down and you say, hey, these things are not going to happen in this unit, there's a good chance that they're not going to happen. Now, there are going to be some outliers. There are going to be some sour apples out there. There's not a whole lot you can do about some of those folks. But if you can reduce it just by putting that foot down and saying, hey, these are things we're not going to tolerate, whether it's pictures of naked men, naked women in your offices, in your cubicles, in your vehicles, things like that. If it's maybe jokes, maybe pictures that you drew on a board, whatever it might be. If it's phrases that you say, words that you're using that probably don't need to be used anymore, make sure you stop those before they become a problem, all right? If you, again, come out beforehand, either as you take over a unit or as you're developing that leadership kind of mentality, and you say these are not going to be tolerated and these are not going to be acceptable in this unit or in this family, there's a good chance they're not going to happen. So make sure you enforce that command climate. Just because you're not a commander doesn't mean you can't enforce the command climate, right? So if you're a Marine, if you're somebody in a unit or on a team, if you're, if you just think you're one of the NCOs or if you're one of the Lance Corporals and you're thinking, hey, I'm not going to have any impact on that command climate, you're wrong. You can have just as much of an impact as the commander. You can have an impact as your senior enlisted, as your junior officers, whatever it might be, just by following the rules, committing yourself to doing the right thing at all times, and making sure that you hold each other accountable to following this order and not engaging in prohibited activities. So be a part of that command climate. Make sure that you're helping each other out and looking out for one another. So bottom line, these things are still happening. Okay, we talk about hazing all the time. If you're still doing hazing, then there's really no need for it, right? So I know a lot of the hazing comes from promotions or awards that you've received or schools that you graduated from, whatever it might be. Listen, the Marine Corps said that all you need to do to qualify for that rank or for that position is to graduate that school or to earn this cutting score or to pass this board, whatever it might be, then that's good enough, right? If the Marine Corps says, hey, you've earned that rank, you've earned it. You don't need to go behind the barracks and get the crap kicked out of you. You don't need to go get pinned on until you bleed or get your legs kicked in until you can't walk anymore. That stuff's got to stop. There's no need for it. All right, if you want to go out and take your fellow NCOs or take the junior Marines out on a run, on a workout, whatever it might be, then that's great. All right, that's got some value to it. That's got some actual Marine Corps combat training value to it. That's awesome. But these other things that we talked about, these dead leggings, these blood stripings, these pins, they got to stop. There's no room for it in this Marine Corps. We've determined that you've earned that by your school, by your rank, by your score, and that should be good enough. So let's put an end to these things. Let's make sure our Marine Corps is a lot safer and better prepared for the future and continue to take care of one another through not allowing prohibited activities to continue. Thank you very much and have a great day.